The media now under fire in the NSA leak story, with James Clapper, the director of national intelligence, saying news organizations did not act responsibly when reporting the secret surveillance program. Clapper sat down for an interview with NBC News in which he described the damage done by this kind of disclosure.
While we're having this debate, discussion, and all this media explosion, which of course supports transparency, which is a great thing in this country. But that same transparency has a double-edged sword, in that our adversaries, whether nation-state adversaries or nefarious groups, benefit from that same transparency. So as we speak, they are going to school and learning how we do this. I think a lot of what people are reading and seeing in the media is a lot of hyperbole.
So let's talk about those comments and this case with our News Watch panel. Jim Pinkerton is a contributing editor and writer for the American Conservative magazine. Alan Colmes, the host of the Alan Colmes Show and author of Thank the Liberals for Saving America. So what do you think about what the DNI had to say there, Jim? Is transparency, too much transparency, a bad thing, especially in media?
Well, he seems to think transparency is bad. That's why they kept it secret. Now they're for transparency. Of course, they want to tell the media not to do it again or put it all back in the tube if they can. But look, if this program were so great, the one that they're talking about, PRISM, then why didn't they catch the Tsarnaev brothers before they blew up the Boston Marathon? Why didn't they catch the underwear bomber in Detroit in 2009 or Major Hassan, the shooter in Fort Hood? You almost wonder exactly what they're looking for as they go scrutinizing through all our phone calls and emails.
Well, they say that they have stopped terror plots. Alan, is it a risk worth taking, I guess, when it comes to surveillance?
Yeah, I don't know how you're ever going to stop terror plots, but how can you say you want transparency and then be upset when information comes out? I'd like to point out that back in 2005, on December 16th, the New York Times reported Bush lets U.S. spy on callers without courts. It made the papers again in Washington Post in 2010. A bunch of whistleblowers spoke out about the NSA collecting data on us. So this is not brand new information. If you're a terrorist and you don't know that this is going on, as Glenn Greenwald has said, that terrorist could probably not likely tie one's shoes, never mind be able to commit an act against the United States.
So you think this is an old story?
To some extent, it is an old story. We may not know the extent of it, but a lot of information came out, and the media, other than a story here or there in the Washington Post and New York Times, The Nation did a story, but other than that, it barely got the kind of play it's getting now.
The difference, though, between 2005 and today is since 2005, we elected Barack Obama, who said he'd be the, quote, the most transparent president in history, unquote, and everything was supposed to change, and I don't quite get it.
I agree with you, but where was the media in 2005 when some outlets did report this story and there was no uproar about it? Nobody got upset about it. There was a story here or there. There wasn't a continuum as there is now of discussion about it. And yes, you're right. I'd like to believe we have a transparent government. But all of a sudden, it's getting the attention it never got when the story first broke.
I think one big difference is the rise of the internet companies as opposed to the phone companies. And that is the realization that Google and all the others are in the middle of all this, serving essentially as agents of the government in all this snooping.
Well, we found out back then that AT&T and Verizon were serving as agents of the government. How is that any different than whether now it's just a different platform and it's the same thing, that they're serving as big companies serving as agents of the government? It's basically the same story.
You're right, except now the email is so much more intimate. I mean, the question is, that's the issue. I don't think anybody had any idea that every email was being watched by James
Nobody had
Clapper.
an idea their phone conversations were being watched until the story broke in 2005.
Well, we also know from some reporting that Catherine Herridge did on Friday, Alan, that the Barack Obama campaign, which blew the Romney campaign out of the water when it came to big data crunching and doing some of this same kind of thing, finding out who's out there, what their interests are. That company has been now, well, it was the campaign organization, has been turned into a company, Civis Analytics, which is now being essentially bankrolled by Eric Schmidt, the executive chairman of Google. That's a little weird, isn't it?
No, not necessarily. He's in the data business. We have a campaign that used data to find out what voters it might be able to sway. Nothing new about that. Schmidt says this is a separate company from Google. There's no evidence that he's using Google or the mechanics of Google, his other company, to do this. Until there's any evidence of wrongdoing, let's not conflate all these so-called scandals or use the word scandal. irresponsibly until we have more information about this. There's no evidence that Schmidt is doing anything wrong by using
I
data.
didn't, for the record, I didn't use the word scandal.
okay.
Jim?
I'm not saying you. I'm just, but let's be clear about it.
Hold on, let me talk. Let me just at least connect some dots here. And that is, look, we don't know about a scandal. We do know, however, that Eric Schmidt is arguably President Obama's best friend in the business world. He's done all sorts of campaign fundraising and endorsing of President Obama. And we also know this company, Civis Analytics, not only helped the brilliant Obama campaign of 2012, and you kind of wonder how they got so brilliant now in retrospect, but in addition, they're moving toward campaign consulting only for Democrats, according to Josh Green in Business Week, and they're also helping enroll people in Obamacare. That is, they're part of the enrollment process for people to be part of the Obamacare health insurance effort. That's a lot of politics for this little tiny company.
All right.
There are data companies on the left and right. Maybe conservatives are jealous that Obama did it so well.
We'll see what happens. Alan Colmes, Jim Pinkerton, our Newswatch panel today. Thank you.
Thank you.